Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net, doing a 3x pitch biometrics here of Francis Diaz from his 3x velocity camp. Take him out of his leg lift, start breaking him down, get an idea of ankle to knee positions. We can see a lot of flexion, so he comes into a lot of flexion, drive leg knee, 84 degrees. It's a good high amount of flexion there. We can see dorsiflexion about 25 degrees, so it does get down into that back leg, but you can see not a lot of momentum, just kind of sitting down there, front leg getting way out and extended. So I like the loaded position. It's just the fact that the trunk is leaning so far back and the front leg is extending so far out. Doesn't look like there's going to be really, it doesn't look like there's much momentum, and doesn't look like there's going to be much of an acceleration of momentum to that back leg. So it's kind of like the front side is reaching, back side's reaching back, trying to kind of create, kind of like more of a slingshot movement, not really a momentum, ground force, kinetic chain movement really in this position, setting himself up in this position. So let's see as he goes into front foot strike. Okay, so you can see front foot is pretty close. So it opens a little bit more. The back knee starts to push down because he's trying to drive, and then the front leg goes down. Back leg almost looks like it completely collapses, which it does. You can see it's still sideways. So it's kind of like it was an attempt to push, but lost stability, and it just collapsed into front foot. So let's see how that affects the kinetic sequencing. Okay, so you can see hips going into front foot strike are a little late to peak, but they peak right here. But notice how it's peaking also the moment the trunk's peaking. So everything's coming together. I haven't seen much of a pattern like this. Very interesting, because look at the blue line, the glove line. It kind of peaks here, then it peaks again here, then it just shuts off about right there. So it looks like the glove side pulled right here to help create some stability or rotation. And then we see as the front leg stabilizes, the hip and trunk are peaking together. So I'd say just pushing the weight to the front leg and the front leg stabilizing is really what caused rotation to accelerate. Also too, you can see the arm is really being dragged behind. When you don't have separation between hips and shoulders, which you see here, pretty much through the movement, looks like it's synced up the whole time. The arm is going to want to drag to create the delay and separation, which is what's happening, which is going to put a lot of pain in the arm. I know Francis was dealing with that. This could create impingements, put stress all the way from the shoulder down to the elbow. You can see too, when you don't have the separation, you see the back leg pretty much coming around with the back arm. It's kind of like they're both doing the opposite of each other going forward. So it needs to just go back to the drawing board, not leaning so far back, so you can keep the back hip from basically getting to a point where it runs out of range, or the weight is pretty much, or the position or the loading on the hip and knee is too dramatic. So if it starts pushing more at a pretty much an able or a lateral angle, makes it hard for it to stabilize. I know it's kind of trying to describe something very difficult here, but basically when you lean that far back, it's just hard to keep that back hip and leg stable as you're moving forward, and that's why I believe the collapsing is going on. The front side reaching out early like that is causing everything to transfer to front side early, and then he winds up starting to just use the front leg to help power everything through. So just working on not leaning so far back, keeping momentum going, and trying to be late to transfer to front leg so you can get more linear on the back leg and get more acceleration out of the back leg, and try to create as much hip to shoulder separation as you can going forward. Also too, you can see a pitch release doesn't really drive the trunk that well forward. You see the trunk position is at 53 degrees. I mean, actually the trunk's not too bad. It's probably just the front leg is so vertical, it's so upright. Not a lot of contralateral tilt, so it's not like trying to be over rotational, because the trunk leaning that far back, allowed all that energy to carry forward, but it didn't separate that energy. It all kind of came together. You can see that back leg and arm kind of both shooting up together. So I like the linear aspects of it, but didn't sequence well because of the collapsing back leg. So trying to not lean back and collapse the leg, get the energy going, get separation to help sequence the movements better, and not allow the arm to drag so bad, and then get all that energy to go and get more explosive through that. I think that's really Francis's key going forward.